Hello and welcome. You're watching Don Bosco Media Network. This is Abigail R. Khanmalim bringing you the Salesian news across the globe. Since its arrival on 4th July 2023 to mark the centenary of the arrival of the Salesians into Australia, the first-class relic statue of Don Bosco has been extremely busy touring many different Salesian houses, parishes, schools and youth centres in Melbourne. On 6 August, the Solemnity of Transfiguration, the relic statue was hosted by Our Lady of Perpetual Help Church in Ringwood, Melbourne, for the parishioners as well as the Burmese Catholic community of Melbourne, who celebrated their love for Don Bosco as a community. The Provincial of the Salesians into Australia and Pacific, Father Will Matthews SDB, who was born and raised in Burma, welcomed the statue at the parish and gave a presentation on the life of St. John Bosco in Burmese. Father Will then led the Eucharist concelebrated by Father Lucas Mint, the Burmese chaplain, and 3 Burmese priests from Italy who are visiting Australia for their summer break. The permanent deacon of the parish, Reverend Phil King, who knew about Don Bosco and his oratories in England as a young boy, assisted in the Eucharist. Father Simeon Anthony, a young Burmese priest of Melbourne Archdiocese, led the choir in a special way, working with the youth to honour the occasion, the presence of the relic statue of St. John Bosco. The second phase of training of the full-time lay catechist of Salesian schools of Shillong province by Father Gilbert Chundal SDB was held during the second week of July 2023. Father Sachi Stephen SDB, the delegate for the Dimension of Education to Faith of Shillong province, explained that the training process and employing them as full-time dedicated lay catechists in the Salesian schools was the decision of the province in the context of the centenary celebration of Salesian presence in Northeast India. About 60 lay catechists, academically qualified Catholic teachers set apart as full-time catechists in Salesian schools, attended the program. There are 2 to 3 lay catechists in every Salesian school in Shillong province. They are fully responsible for the catechesis of the Catholic students, morning talks, First Friday Mass, feast days, annual retreats, prayer room, etc. They are the Catholic face of faith in the Salesian schools, a venture that is the first of its kind in South Asia and maybe the whole world. Salesians from the 22 communities of the Sacred Heart of Jesus province of Ecuador spend the days of the 2023 retreat divided into 2 shifts. The first from 23rd to 29 July in Crisita and the second from 30th July to 5th August in Sant Patricio near Cumbaya, Quito. The theme of this time of encounter with God was fidelity to God, to Don Bosco and to young people, and was developed by the preacher Bishop Alberto Lorenzelli SDB, Auxiliary Bishop of Santiago de Chile. In the introductory dialogue to the retreat, Bishop Lorenzelli stressed that retreat time is time for inner recreation, personal rest, availability to the Spirit to be prophets of the gospel in today's time, and for contemporary human beings. In the materials shared with the participants, the preacher recalled, I usually begin the retreat by asking people this question: what are you looking for? Because it seems fundamental to me that everyone establishes their own encounter with the Lord by clarifying for themselves, in the first place, what leads us to seek Him. At the end of World Youth Day in Lisbon, the boys and girls of the Salesian youth movement took part in the pilgrimage to the shrine of Our Lady of Fatima on Monday, 7th August, to give thanks for what they had experienced during these days and for the accompaniment they had received from the Mother of God throughout their lives. The pilgrimage was divided into groups. Each national or provincial team organized its own itinerary, but the basic ingredients were the same for all: prayer and recitation of the Rosary during the journey, celebration of the Eucharist, and visit to the most significant places of the shrine once they had reached their destination. A 4-day leadership camp entitled Bosco Camp was organized by the DBTC Pastoral Office for the youth leaders of 2 Salesian settings, DBTC Basic Ed and Youth Center and Lord's Parish Youth Center. It was held last July 24th to 27th at Don Bosco Technical College, Cebu. The camp activities focus on highlighting the important qualities that a Salesian youth leader should possess to effectively lead the members of each setting. For 4 days, the participants were treated with the typical Salesian camp experience: games, yells, banner making and talent presentations, as well as the usual prayer moments like the Mass and Rosary. Since this was expected to be a leadership camp, different talks and workshops were given throughout the duration of the event. Father Randy Figuracion, SDB GBTC President and Rector, gave an input about the life and works of Don Bosco. Mr. Darrell Thoriont, an SYM Senior Youth Leader, talked about the Salesian Youth Movement. The Lord's Parish Youth Coordinator and SOCOM Delegate, Father Kate Modia, SDB, gave a talk about the Salesian Youth Spirituality. Father Rooney Undar, SDB DBTC Vice President for Academics and CYM Delegate, presented the Salesian way of planning. The last speaker was Ms. Ariant Duolingo, CYM FIS Executive Officer, who gave a talk on the qualities of Salesian Youth Leader. These series of talks were aimed to empower the youth leaders so that in turn they will be able to empower the youth members of their settings. So viewers, that is all we have for you today. Till we meet again, thank you for joining us.